sports, it's like it takes over your life. That is like everything you do is dealing with the kids' sports. So I am a first-generation born American. My parents immigrated from Thailand 50 years ago, and my dad was a physician, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. I grew up in Michigan. And my mom, this is very special, but she really believed in serving the community. So community service was a very important part of my childhood growing up. So we would spend a lot of time visiting people in the nursing homes and working on community projects. And so naturally, when I went off to college, I became a teacher, and I was a third grade teacher for 6 years. And that was in Indiana, and that was a huge highlight of my life. Teaching was everything to me. I loved working with the youth. It gave me a creative outlet to create service learning projects for the kids, and through that I was able to I earned Teacher of the Year for my school and my district, and semi-finalist for the state of Indiana. And so I was riding on an ultimate high. Like, it was the highlight. I thought, this is where I'm going to be, this is what I'm going to do, my purpose is to be a teacher, and that was it. And that was my plan all along. But then it came to a complete halt when my husband and I decided to take a chance, pack up our house, pack up the two of us, and move to Maine. And we moved to Damariscotta. Well, we moved to Wiscasset, Maine, down on the coast. We didn't know anybody. We knew not a soul. I came with my little dog, Shih Tzu, Jasmine, and she was my best friend for many months. I was 6 months pregnant with our oldest, Vanessa, and so basically I would just spend my time with my dog, walking around town, and what was happening was people would see me and notice me, because there's not many pregnant Asian women in Maine, walking around. And so people would stop me and be like, oh, aren't you Dr. Albert's wife? And I'm like, yeah, I'm Dr. Albert's wife. And they would tell me all these great things, like that he's, their dentist, and they love him. And I was a proud wife. But by the 6th or 7th or 8th time, I was just like, there's so much more to me than just being Dr. Albert's wife. Like, they didn't know me as Tanya and who I was before. And I was starting to feel, I was bothered by it and starting to eat away at me. But you get through your busy life with everything that you're doing. And then I had Vanessa, and then I became Vanessa's mom. Your identity is attached to your husband or and my child or my children. And I felt like I was, at that point, I was losing myself and losing my identity, and I wasn't quite sure, well, what am I supposed to be? I mean, I had we had decided that I would stay home with the children, and that was my dream too. I wanted to raise my kids, and being a mom was very important to me, but I didn't realize the emotional roller coaster it would put me on as I left my career behind. And so that's kind of why I'm talking about the theme of freeing your true self, because it's such a heavy and deep concept, and it seems to be an ongoing process, and something that I think women don't take the time to really focus on. And when I think of your true self, I feel like it's something deep inside you. It's a desire, it's how you want to live, it's your goals, your passion, and it's tucked in here. And as you get older, like the shell or this wall kind of builds around it because you faced failures. Okay, there's a coat around your true self. You can't live your true life or the truth or how you want to be because of failures, because of your responsibilities with work or family. And it just keeps getting busier and busier, and your true self gets tucked deeper and deeper inside, and then it gets to a point that a lot of women aren't living how they truly want to live. So I wanted to share just a few kind of practices that have helped me kind of chip away at that wall, and helped me to kind of reveal and be able to live my true self. So let me tell you a little bit about my mom. She's this 5 foot, well, she used to be 5'1", but she keeps shrinking. She's 5 foot, like, Asian woman with a heavy accent. I love her, but she loves to give advice. She's A-type personality, so she's great about meeting new friends, but if you had a conversation with her, you would leave with at least one piece of advice, because she just dishes it out. So you can imagine, as her child, I get 3 to 4 phone calls a day giving me advice all day long. And it may be the same advice over and over again, but it's some piece of advice that she's thinking about. And so one day I was driving back from swim practice, going home to pick up Gavin, and then heading up to hockey, which is about a 2.5 hour like round trip circle. And my mom calls me and she's like, "Tanya, are you driving?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm driving." And she's like, "Oh, okay, I won't take up much of your time. But if you're driving, I want you to be safe. And I want you to think driving, driving, driving." And I'm like, rolling my eyes, thank goodness she can't see me. And I'm like, "Okay, thank you, Mom." And I hang up the phone and I kind of laugh. And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna sit in a car for 2 hours repeating driving, 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 because it would drive me insane, you know? And so I laughed about it and I kind of pushed it aside. But as time went on, I was like, you know what? She actually does have a point. What she really meant, and she does come up with these funny things, but what she really wanted me to do was be present in the moment, to live right now and to think about what I'm doing and what my intention is at that moment, so that I could be safe, that I could be focused. Because there's times like, when Victoria was in preschool, I went to school pickup and we had a quick parent meeting, and I went to the parent meeting, and then I got in my car and I drove home, and then I looked in the back seat and I realized I forgot to take my child with me. So, and I know I'm not the only one, I know. So I had to go back to school to pick her up. But if I was being mindful, and if I was being in the present moment and having intention with what I was doing, I hopefully wouldn't have forgotten my child. But so that is one thing, is trying to live and be present with what you're doing right now, so that you're not going through the daily life in like autopilot, and you're giving yourself a chance to kind of listen to what you want and who you are, and have that silence, that moment that time where you're not just flooded with all this information around us. So with ladies I work with, a couple things that I do and I suggest to them is, before you sit down and you get to work, take a deep breath and just have intention with what you're doing and be mindful in that present moment. Or if you're about to cook, the same thing, or drive. Another thing is I do like 5 minutes of mindfulness, and it could be just waking up in the morning and sitting there in silence for 5 minutes and going through your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? And just taking a moment to kind of be attentive in what's around you and what's going on. And that just helps you get centered, rest your mind, and be ready to move on to the next thing. Can you all hear me okay? So the next thing I want you to do real quick for me is, I want you to imagine somebody that you love with all your heart, somebody who is so important to you, and think of that person, and they sit down in front of you, and they tell you a goal or something that they want to accomplish, and it means everything to them. Like, this is it. They've decided they want to do this. What would you say, or what would you do in that moment? And I bet most everybody in this room would do everything in their power, devote energy, time, advice to help that loved one achieve that dream or that goal. You would invest that time in them. So my question is, why is it, and this has happened to me many a times, when we have our own dream or our own goal or our own thing that we want to accomplish, we push it aside. We don't invest any time or energy or little time and energy in what we want to do. We always give. Women tend to give to others and are thinking about others. And I feel like a lot of times women have this guilt. And I don't know if it's like from the exterior or what, but you have this guilt like, okay, well if I'm investing time in what I want to do, then I'm not being responsible with my job, or I'm not being responsible as a wife or as a mother. And I think what happens is that guilt kind of stops you. And where does that guilt come from? Well, let me take you back real quick. So 2 years ago, I was diagnosed pre-diabetic. I have a thin frame, but internally I was not healthy, and I wasn't living a healthy lifestyle. And so I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, and I didn't want to get on medication. And so the doctor was like, okay, 6 months, let's see what you can do yourself, and then we can talk about what's next. I knew at that moment I did not want to be diabetic like my grandparents. My uncle, he had both feet amputated. You know, my mom was diabetic. I was just like, I don't want that for myself. I want to live a healthy, active life with my kids and future grandchildren and my husband. So I knew at that moment 2 years ago that I needed to change my health and my nutrition and focus. So I hyper-focused, and I didn't feel guilt, okay? So that's a scenario where I didn't feel any guilt, because it was almost, for me, it was like a life or death. You know, do I want my life to be shortened by getting this disease and not living healthy, or do I want to live? So I didn't feel guilt with that, but through that whole experience of focusing on my health, I started my health and wellness business because I realized that I had a passion for helping other women and men do the same thing and turn their lives around. And that's where the guilt started coming, because I was like adding this other responsibility into my life, and I was like, should I do this? But for me, it was a dream. And so back in January, I got to go to LA. I was invited to go to LA for a new leaders conference for my business or for my company. And only less than 1% of the coaches were invited. And if you get an invite, you either go, or if you don't go, you don't get another invite ever again. So you either go that year or not. And so I knew that I needed to go, and that I wanted to go. But a couple people that were close to me, and it was several, questioned, well, why are you going to California? Like, you have your family responsibilities, they depend on you, you drive them, you take care of them. Like, do you really need to go? Or should you even go? And then I started feeling, then I stopped and I started feeling guilty, like, well, maybe I shouldn't go. I've always kind of let other people's opinions of me rule my life and make my decisions. And I'm 45, and I finally got to a point where I'm making my own decisions and trying hard to not let other people influence me. But it did, and this was just January. I'm still questioning myself and what I'm doing. But I decided to go, and Greg and the kids said, you need to go. So I went. The first morning I woke up, it was 4:30 a.m. because of the time change, and I get a text from Gavin, and it says, Victoria's sick. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't want, I had everything coordinated, carpools, the kids had rides to school, everything was all set. I'm like, can Victoria stay home by herself? And I'm like, no, she can't. And so I went into panic mommy mode, and I was like trying to reach friends who were doing the carpool, and was panicking. I messaged Gavin, and I messaged Victoria, and then I decided to message Greg. And Greg said, oh, well, I changed my schedule around. I'm going to stay home with her. I already coordinated with everybody. You don't need to worry about anything. And I'm like, really? Okay. And then Victoria's like, knew it was early. She said, Mommy, you need to go back to bed. And I'm like, oh. And we did much better without you, Mom. You know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is not very nice, but okay, for those that have like teenagers, you know what it is. But I knew her point. She was happy I was there. She wanted me to know that I was okay, that it was okay. But the key for that point in that story is that we can't let other people kind of influence us or make us feel guilty about the choices that we're making for ourselves or the things that we want to do. You got to know in your heart what you want, and you just got to go for it. And the people that love you and support you, those are your people, and those are your people that you want around. Those people that are not going to build you up and support you or believe in you, they're not, I guess, worth your time and energy as much as those people that are going to back you up. So like last night I was panicking, like, oh my gosh, because I've never done a live talk. And I was having self-doubt, which often happens because that's just the way I am. And so I called up my friend and she talked me through it this morning. And that's what you need, is those people. And so surrounding yourself with people that are going to love you and support you and believe in you and they want you to be happy, okay? Those are the people that you need to invest your time in. And that's going to help you be able to chip away to your true self and live your true self because they support you 100%. So to move on to my third point, the past 2 years for my family have been pretty rocky in the sense that Vanessa, the last day of freshman year in high school, was in a tragic car accident and she lost her very best friend, Isabel, that day. And it happened to be Best Friends Day. And I have to tell you, that was probably the hardest thing I have had to live through in this lifetime so far. The pain, the trauma that my child went through was more than I could bear some days. And I found the pantry was a very safe place to cry and it didn't hide from everybody. But to have to help her navigate that has been a learning process for me, and that's why I feel like I am in the place where I am, because I've grown so much in the past 2 years. See, we've gone through ups and downs emotionally, and she poses these very profound questions because her view on life is very different than a typical teenager. She has questions that a lot of us don't even consider. And so in the fall, at one of her lowest points, she came to me crying and she said, I don't understand the purpose of living if we can't do the things that we want to do. She's like, Mom, I go to school, then I go to swim practice, I come home, I do homework, and then I go to bed. And I do that again, and I do that again. And she's like, I'm not happy, and it's not what I want to do. And I had to stop because she had a point. I mean, I think we do that too. We have work, we have chores that we have to do, we have responsibilities, and there's not joy in it. I mean, it's difficult. So, anyways, so I told her, well, she wants to be a doctor, and I said, well, you need to go to school in order to get that accomplished. And she realized that. And I said, and we also said that any time that you have a chance, incorporate joy in it. Find joy in the things that you do. So she loves to sew and she loves to paint and hang out with friends. So we're trying as much as possible to incorporate that so that she can find her joy in it. So it also made me think, those questions made me think about my life and where I am. And for the first time, I felt like I am at peace. I am where I need to be as a health and wellness coach because I love working with women. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about getting people healthy. And I feel like I'm where I need to be. And I found, like I have freed my true self. But I know that it is always evolving, and that's why the practices of those 3 things are really important. Because through your life experiences, you're always going to be evolving. You're not always going to have that same true self. It's never going to be exactly the same. So living in the present moment is so important, and having intention with what you're doing not having guilt, but surrounding yourself with the people that love you and support you. They are your people, and being around them is so important. And then also finding joy in everything you do. Every day, try to find some piece of joy in your life, because life truly is too short to not live it to the fullest. And that's it. So.